Okay, some of you were asking for a little more word problem review, so I'm going to go ahead and help you out with that. So I put some more problems up here. There's about 3, and hopefully that'll help. The first thing I do is I read the whole problem, obviously, but then I start to list the important information. So the first thing I want to ask myself is, how many pieces of information am I trying to find? And it's talking about a triangle, and it tells me to find the measure of each angle, so I'm looking for 1, 2, 3 pieces of information, because there's 3 angles in a triangle. So then when I read it, I have given information. It tells me the second angle of a triangle measures 7 more than twice that of the first angle. But I don't know what this first angle is, so I'm going to go ahead and call that x, because I don't know what it is. So now if I talk about the second angle in my triangle, it tells me it's 7 more than, remember our turnaround word, twice the first. So if I wrote twice the first angle, it would be 2 times x, because the first angle we already said was x. So twice that would be 2 times x. 7 more than that would be adding 7. For the third angle, it tells me it's 5 more than 3 times that of the first. So 3 times the first angle, which we were calling x because we didn't know what that was. And then it was 5 more than that, so plus 5. So that's some of the given information I was given. And over here, I want to tell myself that, or remind myself that I used x earlier, and for that x, that was the first angle. Then I have some more information. It tells me that this is a triangle. So knowing what I know about the interior angle measures of a triangle, if I have a triangle, and I add all these angles together, I should get 180. Okay, so we might want to jot that down, that triangles, angles, add to equal 180 degrees. Okay? And another thing I want to do is jot down the question that's being asked. So I want to make a point to say that I need to find each angle so that I can make sense of my answer at the end. Alright, so that's what my step 1 should look like in my word problem solving chart. Now if I look at step 2, that would be setting up the equation. And so when I go to set up the equation, I know that triangles, angles add up to be 180. So if this is one of my angles, I can add that to this angle plus this angle, and I should get 180 when I add them all together. So now I can ignore all the other junk that's already been written and just go ahead and solve my equation like I know how to, because we just had a test over that. So the first step, can I distribute? No, I cannot. I don't have any parentheses. Can I combine like terms? Yes, I can. This is a 1x plus 2x plus 3x, which is a 6x. Then I can combine 7 and 5, which is 12. Make sure all my variables are on the same side, and they are. And I'm going to try to get x by itself. So my next step would be subtract 12. And I get 6x equals 168. Get rid of the 6, divide both sides by 6. And x is equal to 28. Now here's where I need to make sense of my answer. If x equals 28 and x is the first angle, then one of my angles is 28 degrees. To find the second angle, I know that it's twice the first plus 7. Well, if the first was 28, then I can work that over here. So 2 times the first angle plus 7. Well, x is 28. The first angle was 28. So 2 times 28, which is 56, plus 7, which is 63. So see, we're using solving equations, we're using order of operations. That's why it's really important for you to know what's going on and not to get too lost. the last one, the third angle, because I have to find all three. This one, it's 3 times the first angle plus 5. Well, again, the first angle was 28. So I'm going to take 3 times 28. That gives me 84 plus 5 is 89. So this one is 89 degrees. So you could write over here the measures of the angles are 28, 63, and 89. Degrees, 63 degrees, and 89 degrees. Okay, so let's do another one. We're talking about supplementary angles, so we're actually having 2 pieces of information here. 1, 2. And it tells us that the measure of one of them is 2 less than 3 times the other. So I don't know what the other one is, so one of them is going to be called x, and the other one, so we'll call this the first angle. And the other one is 12 less than 3 times that one. So 3 times the first one, and 12 less than that would be minus 12. Remember, than is a turnaround word. So we're also using words into math. Alright, so another piece of information I need here is the fact that they're supplementary. Supplementary angles add to be 180. Okay, so that's important, and then I need to also make sure I answer the question by finding each angle. So it should have 2 answers. Alright, so that was step 1. Let's go on to step 2 where we start building our equation. So I told you before that supplementary angles add to be 180. Well, this is my first angle, and this is my second angle. So that means if I add those 2 together, I'll get 180. So now I can, again, just solve my equation like I already know how. Can't distribute, but I can combine like terms. 1x plus 3x is 4x minus 12. All my variables are on the same side, so I can box this one. Divide by 4. And x is equal to 48. So now I got to make sense of my answer. X is equal to 48. Well, the first angle was 48, which means this first angle is 48 degrees. Now I got to find this second angle. Well, I knew that this second angle is 3 times the first one minus 12. So I've got 3 times 48, which is 144, minus 12, which is 132. So this angle is 132 degrees. So my answer is the angles are 48 degrees and 132 degrees. Last one. Alright, so I've got a rectangular fence. So I'm going to draw a picture. And it talks about 2 different pieces of information. It talks about a length and it talks about a width. It tells me that the whole fence is 22 feet long. It tells me that the length is 3 more than 5 times the width. Do I know the width? No. Since I don't know the width, I'm going to call it W. Then I'll go ahead and label it on my rectangle. The length is 5, so equals 3 more than, it's a turnaround word, so I'm going to start with 5 times the width, so 5W, and 3 more than that would be plus 3. So those are the dimensions of my rectangle, and I know that the whole fence is 220 feet. And I know that they're asking me to find the dimensions, which means I need to find length and width. Okay, so now I'm going to go on to step 2 where I start setting up my equation. If this whole fence is 220 feet, that means all these sides, like this side plus this side plus this side plus this side equals 222. So that's how I'm going to set up my equation. This side plus this side plus this side plus this side equals 222. So now I'm going to solve my equation. There's no distributing to be done, so I'm just going to combine like terms. 5W plus 1W is 6W plus 5W is 11W plus 1W is 12W. And then I have 3 plus 3 is 6, and it's positive. All my variables are on the same side, so I'm going to box it, and I'm going to move 6 to the other side. When I do that, I get 12W equals 216. Now I need to undo 12, so I'm going to divide. W is equal to 18. But I'm not finished because that doesn't make sense. W equals 18, well I said that W was width. So the width is 18 feet. The length I need to find. Well, I know that the length is 5 times W. Well, W is 18. So over here to the side, I'm going to do 5 times W, which is 18, plus 3. This is 90. So it's 93. The length is 93 feet. And you can always go back and check all these answers. For example, if this is 93 and this is 18, then this would be 93 and this would be 18. If I add them all up, I do get 222. Make sure that you are studying this and rewriting literal equations. That's what we did over the weekend. We worked on it Monday in class. So make sure that you are studying both of those things tonight.